Friendly, mom approved.
What is your healing power? Helping veterans with PTSD, traumatic brain injuries, depression, anxiety, or loneliness? Is your healing power a simple, heartfelt letter or being a volunteer? At healvets.org, you can find out more about the healing power of pen pals, volunteers, and therapy kits. Help Heal Veterans has been helping veterans heal. What is your healing power? Find out at healvets.org, sponsored by Help Heal Veterans.
WKJG, 1380 AM, 100.9 FM. The Fan, Fort Wayne, Indiana. Listen live at 1380thefan.com. This is a presentation of Fort Wayne High School sports on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. The Hoopie Insurance Services High School Coaches Show. Hoopie Insurance, our family serving your family for over 40 years. Here's your host, Justin Kenny.
Welcome in, everybody, to the High School Coaches Show presented by Hoopie Insurance Services. I am Justin Kenny here on a Thursday evening. Thanks for tuning in. A lot to talk about here over the next hour. We have girls state finals basketball. We have sectional boys basketball to talk about with the postseason on the boys side starting tomorrow. We're also going to talk a little football as well over the next hour. So just a few seconds, we'll be joined by Brice Vance of OutsideTheHuddle.net. We'll talk about Fairfield and their appearance, first ever appearance in the state championship coming up this Saturday against Corydon Central down in Indianapolis. We'll also talk about the final weekend of boys basketball, regular season, and then the sectionals starting off next week to kick off the playoffs on the boys side. Bottom of the hour, we'll talk to Zach Baber, the new Central Noble head football coach. We'll talk to Coach about his plans for the Cougs. And then about 6:45, we'll talk to Brodie Garber, head coach of the Fairfield girls, as they prep again for that 3A state championship game coming up around 6 o'clock on Saturday evening from the field house down at Indianapolis. And to kick it all off, we have our buddy, not just my buddy, but everybody's buddy, Mr. Brice Vance of OutsideTheHuddle.net. Brice, good evening.
I'm doing good, my friend.
Excellent. And a lot going on since we last talked. If I had told you, and I'll have two questions here. We'll start with the first one. If I told you that the only area team to be in the state championship game from the area would be Fairfield, if I would have asked you that or told you that at the beginning of the season, what would have been your reaction?
I don't think I would have been surprised. Them being the only one, maybe, just because I think what we had with this team, with pretty much everybody coming back, I think except for one senior on last year's team, this whole team was coming back, and the way they lost in the semi-state last year was just not a great ending, and I imagine that sat with them throughout the entire off season, and they wanted to get back to this point. And go beyond what they had accomplished the last couple of years, because they felt like that this team was built for a postseason run like this. And credit to Coach Garber that they've been able to get back to this point, not have really very many missteps throughout the regular season. Easily won the conference title in the regular season and the tournament. Sectional, they got through pretty easily. They had a tougher game in the regional against Highland, but last week felt like that they played really well, probably some of their best basketball. So I wouldn't have been surprised because of what this team has accomplished over the last couple of years, and with everybody coming back, it felt like that this type of run was possible.
And it just hits different, at least for me, when we have some new flavor amongst the area in terms of getting down to the state championship. And like I said, Fairfield making its first ever appearance in the girls basketball state finals and have not won a state championship of any kind in any team sport. And that's exciting to have Fairfield down there. When we look at Corydon Central, what are the challenges for Fairfield? What are they presented with in trying to win a 3A state title on Saturday?
Yeah, I think that Cordion is a team that has been tested. I think they've played a much more difficult schedule than Fairfield has, and I think that they've been tested each and every stage of this tournament, and that's just credit to them, but also Fairfield has had to deal with the likes of the NACC, was outside of Central Noble and East Side. I just felt like it wasn't a very strong conference, and they weren't really tested in their own conference. Now, credit to Fairfield, they went out of their way and played the likes of a Snyder. They played a Northridge and those types of programs to beef up their schedule a little bit and prep them for games like this. But it feels like that Cordion is a little bit more of a battle-tested team, and they play, they're almost, at the Ohio River, and a lot of those schools down there play a lot of good basketball. And the way that Coach Conrad for Central has done, just in these past couple of years, they've been a really solid team. And it feels like that it's going to be, I think, a very good game. I think they're going to try to test Fairfield's defense, which has been excellent this entire season. Cordion's a team that, likes to push it up and scoring nearly 60 points a game. So I think that's going to be the end of the floor that I think is going to be critical for Fairfield to win this game is can their defense be effective against a team that scores a lot on the other side.
So many similarities between these two teams, Brice. You look at field goal percentage, both shoot in the high 40s. Three-point percentage, both shoot around 30, 31%. Free throw percentage, both of them shoot around 70, 72%. They both average about 26 rebounds per game. Points are pretty similar, around the mid-50s. I guess the big thing that stands out is points allowed, and Fairfield is at 28 points allowed per game. And also, I mentioned Fairfield looking for their first championship in any team sport in Indiana. So is Cordion Central. Brodie Garber is the head coach of Fairfield. He is a graduate of Fairfield. Head coach Josh Conrad of Cordion Central. He's a graduate of Cordion Central. So there's so many similarities between these two teams. Should be a fun matchup. But what does this one come down to? Does it come down to, as you mentioned, those the ability to slow down Cordion Central's offense?
I believe so, and I think that it's the length that Fairfield has, and they've been able to use all season long. With a player like Bria Garber, who has been in the spotlight for Fairfield all 4 years of her career. Playing as a freshman, budding as a star as a sophomore, and then just being able to continue and add pieces to her game over the last couple of years. But feels like that she's always been a defensive priority for teams to plan against, because she has that length and uses it in a lot of different ways, whether it is in the paint, if you want to put her on a forward or something like that, and she can use her blocking skills, or if you put her out on the perimeter, she can turn guards over and take it the other way and score easily. So I think if Cordion can figure out a way to take her out of the defensive game plan, and try to not go towards her on the defensive end and make other players make defensive plays or get stops, I think that'll be beneficial for them, because there's and it's obviously more than just Bria. She's a big part of their defense, but Fairfield has a lot of team speed and are able to turn a lot of teams over, like I said. So it's definitely going to come down to that end of the floor, and can Fairfield be consistent on the offensive side as they have been throughout this entire tournament. It feels like that they've been able to score pretty easily, and can they keep that up for one more game?
Brice Vance outside the huddle.net joining us here on the High School Coaches Show presented by Hoopie Insurance Services. Brice, let's look. Or I also wanted to ask you this question when we talk about the state finals on the girls' side. So I asked you, would you be surprised if Fairfield was the only area team? You answered that. Now, if I would have said midway through the season, I said South Bend Washington would not be in the state finals, how surprised would you have been? Because I am absolutely shocked that they got beat last week.
Yeah, I'm shocked too, but not as shocked when you find out the injury to Reynolds.
True.
And so I think that if she was healthy, and I know that they tried to do everything they could health-wise to get her ready for last weekend, and it just and they just came up short. I think if she is in that game, I think that they probably end up pulling it out. just because of how much of a difference maker she is. I am surprised, though, because of how dominant they were. I mean, just look at the margin of victory that they had over, every opponent that they played, and even some of the best opponents that they did play, including the likes of a Northrop squad. And it just feels like that we hadn't seen a team that dominant maybe ever in the girls' basketball. I mean, there's been some teams, that have been dominant and they're on the Fort Wayne area, the Canterbury girls that won, a lot of games, but they weren't ever that dominant as South Bend, Washington has been for the last couple of years, and they seem to turn it up a notch this year. So it is surprising, when you factor in the injury that does happen, that probably leads to the reason why they're not playing this weekend.
Brice, we transition over to the boys' side of things. We had the sectional draw this past Sunday. And based on what you saw, what you see with these pairings, before we delve into individual matchups, anything that stands out from the draw in the area?
Yeah, it feels like that. There's quite a few matchups that I think that, we are hoping to see in the postseason that we're going to get to see again, when it matters, I think more than maybe just a sectional first-round game. Matchups like Homestead and Wayne potentially could meet in a final. I think that's huge. West Noble and Northwood could meet in a final. And then I think that, in the Class 2A for sure, I think, having both of the sectionals with area teams, that feels like it could, go in a couple of different directions. Obviously, Blackhawk's going to be favorite in there. Just how much of a favorite are them with Adams Central and how well they're playing so far, this season. So it feels like that there was, some matchups that we got that are going to end up being in finals, the two top teams in each sectionals. It didn't feel like that there was that many that are going to be happening on a Tuesday night as in years past. So that's definitely good for the entertainment value of next week.
Brice, when we look at individual matchups, I think one that stands out earlier in the week is going to be the one at Carroll with Northside and Carroll. The only two teams right now with more than 5 wins in that sectional play each other Tuesday night at 7:30 between Northside and Carroll. Carroll got Northside the first time around in conference play, but Jackson Fugate is back for Northside. And talking to Coach Gary Andrews, he really feels that Jackson is his second best player, both offensively and defensively. That could obviously play a difference in the second time around. But when you see those two teams taking each other on a Tuesday at 7:30, it's good, I guess, that the two play each other so early, I guess, kind of sucks. But at the same time, all indications are it could come down to that game for this sectional title.
Yeah, I think it does ultimately. I mean, no disrespect to the other teams. I mean, they're Northrop and Snyder and DeKalb and East Noble. I mean, they could all compete with those teams. With Northside or Carroll for a half potentially, but not for a full 4 quarters. So it feels like the sectional champion will come out of this game. And having Fugate back, I think is a huge boost for Northside. After they've kind of struggled a little bit in conference play down the stretch and facing a conference opponent in the first game, I think, could be beneficial. Get this game out of the way. But then you don't want to be in cruise control the rest of the way,
right? Even
though you'll be favored in the next possible 2 matchups. So if for Carroll, I think it's going to be, how balanced can they be offensively? They have so many different guys to score on them, and can they slow down, Fugate and Tay Johnson, and can they keep, Northside out of the lane and make them shoot? They've had their off nights. I witnessed, Northside, starting off really hot against the Homestead team in the first quarter, and then they didn't make a 3 the rest of the game, except for maybe 1 early in the second half. So Northside is a team that wants to drive on you, get in the lane, and get to the free throw line, and just beat you that way. So if Carroll can keep them out of the lane, I think it'd be definitely an advantage for the Chargers.
One section I wanted to ask you about is going to be at Garrett next week, and I think has a lot of storylines. You have Bishop Dwenger and Angola play each other on Tuesday. I feel like that's a toss-up game. Leo and teams playing. They kicked off the season before Thanksgiving playing each other, and that was a 14-point win for Concordia. You also have a 17-win Woodland team lurking there that I think if you overlook them, they definitely could be dangerous. And Heritage is also a double-digit win team. So when we look at how this sectional plays out, on paper you think Concordia and maybe cruising, but I think there are potential landmines all over that field.
Yeah, this feels like one of the more sectionals that's, deeper than really any other sectional we might have. And it feels like that, it could come. You could see a couple of upsets, definitely, the way that Jackson McGee plays, and he can go off for, 35 on any given night. And if he gives, Concordia all they can handle in that first game on Wednesday, Concordia could be bounced out, after having a terrific season and competing for the conference right down to the wire in the last couple of weeks. And their defense that has been so good all season long slow down the high shoes and McGee. And that should be a very fun matchup. But Woodland, was a surprise this season, and how they lose Joe Reedy last year. And you felt like, man, where are they going to generate points? But they just have multiple guys that stepped up in those roles and have created a balanced team that, is able to beat you in multiple different ways. And it feels like that on that side of the bracket is a very tough side because it feels like, Heritage, yes, they might have, 12 wins, but, they're a beatable team. And I think Dwenger, if they, play how they have been, in some of their better games, being the likes of a Homestead team, and it feels like that they have the ability to, come up and get you, and Angola can do the same. They just beat West Noble last week in overtime. So yeah. It feels like that this sectional more than any is due for maybe a surprise or two.
When we look at who is capable of making a run from the area to potentially get to Cambridge Fieldhouse to play for a state championship, does that conversation begin and end with Blackhawk Christian?
I think it starts with them. I think you could possibly throw in a Norwell team. They've, played really well for a majority of the season. Luke McBride is, I think in the area, one of the best players, and that team is another team that is depth-wise is pretty good. They're a pretty good defensive team. They play a very difficult schedule. The sectional that they come out of won't be easy at Peru. The host Peru is a 14-win team. Maconaquah, another 14-win team. Belmont is in there, and they can give some teams some fits. And then you have an 18-win Oak Hill team. So it's going to be a tough sectional just for them to get out of. But if they do get out of that, I think that they put themselves in a really good spot. But for sure, I think it's Blackhawk just because of what they have talent-wise. I think is definitely around here in the 2A. I think is more than what anybody else has. But I think that they could be challenged potentially by an Adams Central if they were to meet in a final, just because of how well they have been playing this season after a really rough start to the season and getting everybody out of football and how this season has really turned around for them, coming back and winning a share of the ACAC. But just talent-wise, Blackhawk, rises just about above everybody here in the area. So I would give them the best chance.
Brice, we're going to talk about your Cougs, the Central Noble Cougars, a little bit later with our new head coach, Zach Baber. But looking at the program that Coach Baber now takes over, replacing Hayden Kilgore there, had a great 2001 season and then really started out of the gate tough in 2022, and it kind of snowballed from there. But what kind of team, when we look at Central Noble in 2023, what can this squad be in terms of returning players and also in terms of Zach Baber taking over this program?
I think it's going to be, somewhat of a tough ask, just because I think that this team, had some younger players step in. They kind of had different guys at quarterback that were trying to lead this team, and it felt like that they couldn't get anything going in that area. They've had the ability to run the ball the last couple of years and kind of struggled there, and they were kind of, leaning on their defense at times, and it just felt like that they couldn't, generate enough stops to get going for their defense. So I think that this program has potential. We've seen them have some really good years and challenge the likes of Eastside on, some occasion. Eastside is definitely the standard in that division, at least, followed by Busco. So I think that if I would, for a program that, I'm an alum of, it feels like that you want to be more than what the rest of that division is. You want to be a step above Fremont. You want to be a step above Prairie Heights. But you also want to be challenging Busco and Eastside, every given year. So it feels like that you're kind of still in that middle position, and you might be able to jump up every once in a while, but you should definitely, I think, set the standard of being a program like Eastside that's, winning that division every single year, mostly. And then you're also competing for sectional championships, because Central Noble really hasn't been in that type of space competing for sectionals in quite some time.
Brice, it's been an absolute pleasure, my friend.
Thank you, Justin. I hope you have a good show and a good couple of interviews after this.
Well, I mean, it's never a good show, and the interview portion is contingent on how good the interviewee is, for sure. But appreciate you helping get this show started on the right note, and it's all about the other people outside of me.
Thank you. I do my best.
All right, buddy. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Justin.
That was Brice Vance of OutsideTheHuddle.net joining us here, as he does each and every Thursday to kick off the show. And good insight on Fairfield as well, with the Falcons playing for a girls basketball state championship this Saturday down at Gamebridge Fieldhouse. We'll talk more about the Falcons a little bit later with head coach Brodie Garber. Will join us close to 6:45 or so. Going to take a break and talk Blackhawk Christian football. Yeah, BC football 1A giving the 11-man a try after playing some 8-man football. And we'll talk about their schedule. It's coming together, and also maybe where they could end up for a conference. We'll talk about that real quick before we welcome Zach Baber, the new Central Noble head coach, after this. Plenty to talk about. We come back here on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM.
The NASCAR Cup Series.
The green flag is in the air, and we are underway.
Returns to Auto Club Speedway.
We got trouble. It's Brad Keselowski. He's sideways, and he collects 1, 2, perhaps 3 more machines.
For one final ride around the D-shaped oval.
Larson, the winner in his home state, the Golden State Golden Boy.
It's the Pala Casino 400.
On Fort Wayne Sports Station, 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.
It doesn't take a brain surgeon to know ticks suck. But what you might not know is that they don't just suck blood way out in the woods. Those creepy little bugs can be anywhere, all year long. And I do mean little. They can be smaller than the head of a pin. But big trouble comes in these small, gross packages. Even a tiny tick can make you super sick. So what's the most important tip to avoid getting bit? Well, duh, pay attention. Remember, ticks can be just about anywhere outdoors. Then, spray attention with an EPA-registered insect repellent. Wearing long socks and other protective clothing is a good idea, too. When you come back inside, shower. And always remember, check for ticks everywhere. And if you do get a tick bite, don't panic. Tell an adult. And visit ticksuck.org to learn how to remove it properly. Ticks suck, but being outdoors shouldn't. Go to ticksuck.org for more information. Ticksuck.org.
If you're a veteran looking to file for your service-connected benefits through the Department of Veterans Affairs, don't go it alone. AMVET's highly trained service officers stand ready to walk you through the process at VA regional offices around the country, helping you to navigate the complex VA system free of charge. With new presumptions for Agent Orange exposure and other conditions, AMVETS can offer you the advice you need to finally receive all of your earned benefits. In 2009 alone, AMVETS helped process more than 65,000 claims and appeals, securing more than $410 million in benefits. To find your nearest AMVET service officer or to learn more, visit amvets.org.
This is the Hoopy Insurance Services High School Coaches Show on Fort Wayne Sports Station, 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.
Welcome back, everybody, to the High School Coaches Show. I'm Justin Kenny. Thanks for spending some of your Thursday evening with us. A little bit later this evening, you'll be able to hear right here on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM, Purdue Fort Wayne on the road at Milwaukee. Coverage will start around 8:15 or so. You'll hear the pregame show with Brett Rump from up in snowy Milwaukee as the Mastodons close out the Horizon League schedule, the regular season schedule at least. This week, they'll play Milwaukee tonight and play Green Bay on Sunday before making way for the Horizon League tournament next week. Will the Mastodons host any league tournament games? We'll find that out over the course of the next 4 days. But contingent on the Mastodons getting a couple wins, starts tonight against Milwaukee. Again, coverage starting about 8:15 tonight. Coming up this fall, there'll be a new 11-man football team in action around the area, and it'll be the Blackhawk Christian Braves. They played 8-man football, now bumping up to 11-man. Head coach Brice Vance, who coached the 8-man group, won a state championship at 8-man, is now elevating to 11-man and 1A. And the schedule's starting to come together. We've started to hear some of the schedule coming out, and there's some out-of-area teams. You look at Calumet Christian. You look at Osceola Grace, who's played Fremont in the past. They'll go to Ohio to play Oregon Stritch, and they'll also play Fremont. They'll play another game in Lima, Ohio against Van Loo, Ohio. But there's a couple area teams. I mentioned the Fremont game on October 13th, but also Blackhawk Christian September 1st adding the Adams Central Flying Jets to the schedule. Yes, the Blackhawk Christian Braves and Adams Central Flying Jets will play Week 3, September 1st in Monroe on the landing strip as the Blackhawk Christian Braves, their first foray into 11-man football, will play the Flying Jets, the two-time defending runner-up in Class 1A, and we'll see how that game goes. I really believe that the Blackhawk Christian Braves, within 5 years, are going to be a big-time player in 1A football in this area, and probably the state. Just look at it. In the city, Fort Wayne metro area, you don't have a 1A school playing football in Fort Wayne. You look at where Blackhawk Christian is, smack dab in the middle of the city, near Snyder. A bit of a further jump waved over to Northside. Really kind of close to East Allen, too. East Allen County scores. We'll pull from there a little bit. But this is a team and a program that the middle school has had tackle football for a while, and they've had a lot of good players. They've just had to either give up the sport or go elsewhere. Now you're just keeping that inside. I really think you can develop your team, the program from within with the middle school, and also get some kids that maybe aren't getting the playing time at Snyder, aren't getting the playing time at Northside, and come over to Blackhawk Christian and be a 1A school and be really, really good in that league. You saw the rise of Indianapolis Lutheran, of being a 1A school in a fertile talent pool of Indianapolis, in the metro area of Indianapolis, and look what they've done. Won back-to-back state championships in beating Adams Central. So watch out for the Blackhawk Christian Braves. I don't think you're going to see it this year, maybe not even next year, but you're going to start to see Blackhawk Christian make some definite noise in 1A. And I think if your programs like South Adams, programs like Adams Central, these 1A area schools that have owned Class A for a while, look at Southwood, Busco, I'd be worried because all of a sudden Blackhawk Christian is coming in playing by a completely different set of rules as you, being in the metro area of Fort Wayne and the talent pool that it's surrounded by, and it's definitely going to be a program on the rise. May not be immediate. In fact, I can guarantee you it's not going to be immediate. But within 3 to 5 years, Blackhawk Christian is going to be legit in 1A football in the state of Indiana. And again, Blackhawk Christian, that schedule coming together, but as of right now, we'll play 2 area teams in their inaugural season in 11-man football this fall, headlined by that game against Adams Central, Week 3, down in Monroe. We're going to talk more football when we come back. Zach Baber, new head coach of the Central Noble Cougars, will join us. We'll get his background and his plans for the Cougs when we come back here on the High School Coaches Show, presented by Hoopie Insurance Services, 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM.
Finding great people to hire is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's pretty difficult, right? Well, ZipRecruiter has mastered finding a needle in a haystack, so they take it to the next level. They make hiring so simple that it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. And that's why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Here's what it's like to use ZipRecruiter. They have so many qualified candidates that it's easier to find the right ones for your roles within the first day. That's a lot of needles. So how do they do it? ZipRecruiter's powerful technology sends you candidates who are a great match for your job, and you can even invite your top choices to apply. So if you want less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Get 11% off everything at Menards. For a beautiful look that protects and stays clean, choose Dutch Boy Paint. Get quality products with smart technology like mildew-resistant coating, stain shield, and dirt-resistant paint and primer in the award-winning Dutch Boy Twist and Pour containers. Get 11% off everything, including the full line of Dutch Boy paints at Menards. Good through March 5th. Savings are mail-in rebates. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Co-Heating and Air Conditioning, your independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer, one family owned and still going strong for 60 years. Decade after decade, Co-Heating and Air has been known for providing quality heating and cooling services that ensure your family stays comfortable year-round. That's no accident. That's a legacy of customer care, excellence, and relationships that have endured from generation to generation. Go with who you know. Go with Co. Proud to be your American Standard dealer. Find them at coheatcool.com today.
Now back to the Hoopy Insurance Services High School Coaches Show on Fort Wayne Sports Station, 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.
Welcome back, everybody, to the High School Coaches Show presented by Hoopy Insurance Services. My name is Justin Kenny here. Till the top of the hour, we'll give way to some national sports broadcasts and then bring it back. Purdue, Fort Wayne, and Milwaukee in action. Horizon League regular season action from snowy Milwaukee. Brett Rump will have the call. Pregame show will start about 8:15, tip closer to 8:30. Tomorrow night, the final Friday night of boys regular season basketball, and two of the better teams in the area, Homestead and Norwell, will battle, and you can hear that game on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM. It's basketball season, but we're talking football. We talked about Blackhawk Christian football before the break. Now we're talking Central Noble gridiron action with new head coach Zach Baber. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Kenny. Thanks for having me.
Oh, Mr. Kenny. Well.
Yeah, it's a habit.
No problem, buddy. First off, congratulations on getting the job. I know you were on staff before, but kind of break this down on how it all came about.
Yeah, thanks for that. Well, how it came about, so I was very fortunate to be a part of the staff last year. I was able to coach the linebackers and running backs position. I loved every bit of it. I did not realize when I got into coaching originally how addicting it would be, and it is very addicting. So when I got the volunteers, or when I got the coaching position last year, Coach Kilgore, he gave me the freedom to put as much time in as I wanted or as little. So I really loved that part of it, and I went, full-blown into it. I put all my extra time into it. So when the opening came about this year, I was debating on whether even to apply. I knew one thing: I wanted to coach, continue coaching. And I, had a lot of talks with my wife, had a lot of talks with my law partner and dad. His name's Brad. So then eventually decided that to put in for the head coach position. And I'm really excited that I did. So that's kind of how it came about.
How much did the familiarity with the program, being an assistant, really help your case, but also your decision to apply?
So I guess the student athletes, so the boys we had on the team, I guess I grew to love them, and I still do. We have such a good bunch of kids, and a lot of it did have to do with them, the students, the players on the team. The program, I really like the administration, the athletic director, Mr. Bremer. Well, I don't want to name too many names because I don't want to leave out anybody, but The administration was excellent. I noticed that last year, and then going into this year, it's definitely still the same. So I guess the boys had a big part for me to come back and try to be head coach, and then I just love the school and really the culture around like the administration, the support. It's kind of like one family, and I really love that aspect of it.
Coach Zach Baber, new head coach of the Central Noble Cougars football team, joining us here on the High School Coaches Show. And, Coach, it's a team that took its lumps last year, going just 2-8, but it's a very young team as well, and particularly offensively. Your quarterback was an underclassman. Some of your top rushers were underclassmen. Top receivers were underclassmen. Your top tackler was an underclassman. So there was a lot of growth with that, and I can imagine you can see the promise of another year with a lot of those guys coming back.
It definitely puts a lot of pressure on the coaches, because I do agree that we have a lot of talent coming back. We lost some good players. We had some good seniors, and so we did lose some talent, but we have a lot of talent coming back. And we had, again, I don't want to name names because I don't want to leave out anybody, but as you said, we had a backup quarterback run the show for a little while, and he did an amazing job. Our quarterback who started the year, he got injured, but he's coming back. He's fully healthy to my knowledge right now. So we have a lot of returning talent. Our line's going to be young, but I don't think that's going to be a weak point, our line, even though they're younger. We lost a lot of seniors on the line, but we have a lot of people who are willing to step up, who I think will fill the role quite easily. So yes, a lot of tough talent, and like I said, it puts a lot of pressure on us coaches to use the players and the talent that we have, because I do believe we can compete in every game we play this year.
Coach, when you look at the conference you're going into, the division you're going into, you have Cherubusco that's always strong. Eastside has been a standout too, and of course they're still looking for a new head coach with Todd Mason stepping down there. But when you look at the landscape of the division you're in, the conference you're in, what kind of challenges does that present, but also opportunities?
Yeah, before you said the opportunity part, that's what I was going to say. It's a good conference. I know Eastside's always up there. Busco, as you were saying, they're always up there. I don't think either of those teams are out of reach in any way. I know we competed with both teams last year. Things kind of got out of hand in the second half and some of the Busco games, but we competed last year. I want, and I believe we want, as us coaches, we believe in our players. The coaching staff we have now, we believe in our players' ability to compete and have a chance to win every game. And if we can instill that culture and get everybody on board with that, then the opportunity to compete against Eastside, Busco, I'm excited about those opportunities.
Coach, when you look at scheme, I mean, should we expect anything dramatically different? Is it too early to kind of talk about that stuff?
I can tell you this right now. I know we ran a lot of spread last year out of shotgun. You can expect to see a lot of stuff out of shotgun. Specifically, more specifics, time will tell. There's formate. So I guess the spread we're going to do a lot of stuff out of spread, but we are going to change things up on offense and defense, put some new schemes in. So I'm excited to fine tune those with the coordinators we have.
All right, Coach. Final question for you too. And you mentioned the kids and just kind of how they've kind of captured your real heart in a lot of ways. How key is it to have the commitment to? I mean, Central Noble has kind of been up and down. Even recently, we've seen this program be up. We've seen this program be down. Coach Chipman had some good years. Greg Moe had a year. Hayden Kilgore had a couple years. But in terms of that continuity, how do you secure that at a place like Central Noble?
I plan to be here a while, so hopefully that pans out. What we're trying to do, we're trying to create as best we can, one football family in the community. So I know it starts with our junior football league, and then it works its way up to middle school and then to high school here. So what we're trying to do is create one football family where if you're in 4th or 5th grade playing football, you're already excited about, I can't wait to play when I'm in 8th grade. I can't wait to play in high school. So we're starting to try to develop that even more, where when players start to play in 4th and 5th grade, they're already thinking about playing varsity Friday night. So I think that'll hopefully help with the continuity, and hopefully if we get some success here, I won't be let go or anything, because I'm planning on staying as long as they'll keep me. So,
how much does the success of the basketball programs, both boys and girls, in recent years, you see the community support with that and say, okay, we can have that too. So does that kind of galvanize you a little bit that can be on the basketball side, we can have it on the football side as well? That's gotta help, because it's a community atmosphere up there. We see it with the basketball, we see it with the football program too, but also being able to see that success and how the community really shows out when Central Noble is humming along on the basketball court or on the gridiron. Yes, definitely. I mean, just seeing what a small town can do in one sport, basketball, it gets me excited, and to see how the community actually, is. And the community, from what I saw last year, even though, yes, we lost a few games, but we still had, I would say, excellent community support. So does it galvanize me? I love having that happen in one of our sports in a small town, and to me, it should provide the players that we have on the football team to say, hey, look, this is possible for this small school in Albion. So it gets me excited knowing that success is already happening in one sport, and hoping we can piggyback off that and bring some of that over to the football program. Coach, I appreciate the time, buddy. Thanks a lot. Congratulations again, and look forward to talking to you again once we get closer to the fall. Sounds great, Mr. Kenny. Thanks for having me. All right, buddy. That was Coach Zach Baber, new head coach of the Central Noble Cougars, taking over for the departed Hayden Kilgore, who put in 3 seasons with the Central Noble Cougars, most recently 2-8 season this past year. 2021, it was an 8-win campaign. Central Noble started off 6-0 before losing 3 of their last 5 games, including being routed twice by Eastside. And we know how good Eastside was in that 2021 season. But Coach Baber will try to get Central Noble back on top. It's very much an ebb and flow type thing with the Cougars. But one thing you can say about last year, they played a lot of underclassmen that contributed big time for that team. So with a lot of those kids coming back, it will be an advantageous spot for Zach Baber in year 1. We're going to take a break, come back. Brodie Garber, head coach of the Fairfield Falcons, will join us as he preps his team for a state championship game appearance coming up on Saturday. We'll talk Falcon hoops when we come back here on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM.
The NASCAR Cup Series.
The green flag is in the air, and we are underway.
Returns to Auto Club Speedway.
We got trouble. It's Brad Keselowski. He's sideways, and he collects 1, 2, perhaps 3 more machines.
For one final ride around the D-shaped oval.
Larson, the winner in his home state, the Golden State Golden Boy.
It's the Pala Casino 400.
On Fort Wayne Sports Station, 1380 The Fan at 100.9 FM.
Make plans for the 36th Annual Baby Fair and Family Expo on February 25th. It's bigger and better than ever, with resources for expectant moms, new parents, and caregivers. Shopping, education, entertainment, free activities, and prize giveaways all day long, including a designer handbag and a chance to roll the dice to win $10,000. Kids can play with thousands of Legos and experience kick darts, live animals, bounce houses, balloon artists, face painting, puppet shows, and more, all in the colossal Memorial Kids Kingdom. The first 200 people 18 or older through the door will each be handed up to $500 in cash. Also, register for the Diaper Dash, a crawling contest where one family will walk away with diapers for a year. All the fun and excitement takes place on Saturday, February 25th from 9 to 3 at the Memorial Coliseum. And best of all, admission is free. Find all the details at WMEE.com. It's the Baby Fair and Family Expo on Saturday, February 25th at the Memorial Coliseum. Kid-friendly, mom-approved.
Get the latest knife info from one of the country's premium knife shops, Blade Man's Knife Shop at the Shops of Scott Road. There's a reason customers drive hours just to shop.
Invite you out to the store to see the area's best selection of quality knives. We have Benchmade, Spyderco, Microtech, ProTech, Hogue, Zero Tolerance, Medford Knife and Tool, ADV Tactical, Tour Knives, and many more. We also have a great selection of custom knives. Can't get out to the store or prefer to shop online? Check out our great selection on BladeMansKnifeShop.com. We pride ourselves on fast shipping because no one wants to wait weeks for their new knife. We update our online inventory daily so you know you're ordering in-stock product that will be shipped within one business day, and shipping is always free for orders over $100. So check us out on BladeMansKnifeShop.com or stop by the store in the Shops of Scout Road and have a cup of coffee on me.
Be in the know and follow Blade Man's on Facebook and Instagram today. 10% discount to police and military, and now you can see the collection of Shun knives, the finest in kitchen cutlery, available at Blade Man's Knife Shop in the Shops of Scott Road.
The Brockman Heating and Air Conditioning promise. On time, done right, or it's free. Brockman's, your independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer. That's over 60 years strong. Since 1957, serving homeowners in the Fort Wayne area. And Brockman's has the most experienced techs to help you decide if you should repair or replace your unit. 423-4331. Call your independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer. Brockman's Heating and Air Conditioning. On time, done right, or it's free. 423-4331. This is the Hoopy Insurance Services High School Coaches Show on Fort Wayne Sports Station, 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.
Don't you cry no more.
Welcome back, everybody, to the High School Coaches Show. I'm Justin Kenny, here for a little bit longer. We'll make way for National Fox Sports at the top of the hour, and then coming up, 8:15 pregame show for the Purdue Fort Wayne Mastodons at snowy Milwaukee this evening in Horizon League action. Brett Rump will bring you all the action. 8:15 pregame, 8:30 tip here on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM. A big game coming up this weekend down at Gamebridge Fieldhouse for the first time ever. The Fairfield Falcons girls basketball team will play for a state championship against Corydon Central. Head coach of the Falcons, Coach Brodie Garber, joins us right now. Coach, how are you?
Doing good. It's been a crazy week, but very exciting.
I imagine, Coach. And first of all, take us through the semi-state. It's the new format. It's the regional format, now semi-state. I can't imagine having to survive that, not only beating Tippecanoe Valley, and then also then having to take care of Twin Lakes in the evening. Take us through what was a very chaotic Saturday for you.
Yeah, we knew whoever was going to win that second game. We had a handful of Tippy Valley to start off with, and then whoever won out of that second game, it was going to be tough. Whoever won that semi-state this year out of the four of us was definitely going to earn it. Both games that day, we didn't start off real hot. We were down most of the first half. That Twin Lakes game, we were down well into that even third quarter. But, the girls stuck with the game plan. They played through some not-so-good shooting. They played through some rough play. And I really just felt like our maturity and our experience really showed through, especially in that second game.
Yeah, Coach, I have to imagine the fact starting four seniors and then Kaylee Dillon, your fifth starter as a junior, that experience that you were able to put on the floor and building a team like this over years, and especially what happened last year in the playoffs and going through the regular season with some challenges this year in terms of having some solid games, having to go to places with challenging. Going to Columbia City, I have to imagine, was a big help for you guys going down the stretch. So all of that, all encompassing, I think added up to being able to handle the challenge of Saturday.
Yeah, for sure. We've been at this a while. The seniors were second graders when I got the job. One of them, being my own kiddo. The other three seniors, practically might as well be my own kiddos. They seem to be at my house an awful lot, eat a lot of my food and whatnot. But it's just been a long time coming. Kaylee Dillon has come a long ways. Has come in that fifth starter for us. She's grown up a lot. And it's just, what we went through the last couple of years, and let's just go right back to that semi-state game at LaPorte last year versus Frankton. We grew a lot from that. Painful at that time, but it kind of now, okay, now we see, Coach, when you talk about, hey, this is why you go through tough things. This is why you play the Columbia Cities, the Fort Wayne Snyders, the Northridges. That's why you do it. So when it comes time to really buckle down and get the job done, I feel like that's a big reason why we were able to do that on Saturday.
So what you're saying is you've started putting this team together when they were second graders, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I got to give my wife a lot of credit. She's my assistant coach. When I first got the job, I kind of just threw her into that, that the role. It's really hard when you're kind of the elementary coordinator, the feeder system coordinator.
Sure.
But, that's the trenches. That's where things get done. Kids start the buy-in process. And if you don't stick around for a little while, this being my 11th year, you don't really get to always see, reap the benefits of that. And so, my wife needs a lot of that credit because she worked with these kids. Her imprint on a lot of these girls definitely shows up a lot.
So very much a family affair. So husband and wife dynamic on the coaching staff. You have Bria, of course, then. So take us through how that's like at the family dinner table during the season.
When we're at the gym, it's all basketball. And we're in the film sessions, it's basketball. We're at the games in the locker room, it's basketball. But we have just really, I feel like as a family, done about as good a job as we can. We separate that. Dinner table is kind of what's going on at the time. And to Bria's credit, she's done a really good job with that because I can get on her pretty hard in practice or a game. We get home later that night, and it's just like, hey, I'm dad, she's daughter. I really feel like we've done a good job of that through the years.
Is that an important line to draw? Is leaving stuff out of either home or basketball when you're at the other place? I mean, how important is that?
Yeah, 100%. I asked around some other coaches. I'm fortunate to have a brother-in-law, Brian Bechtel, who coached at Goshen for years, and he coached his own kids, my nephews. He kind of, gave it. And it's harder when they're younger because they're getting in the car and going home with you. You want to talk about rough because you just got done. I got on you at practice, and then you sit down on the passenger side beside me. But we really took it as we walk outside the doors of the school. It's done. It's over. Let's talk about, what homework you got tonight. What were some things going on? Basketball just really, it never comes up. And a lot of people that know me kind of would laugh at that, but it's very, very true. So anybody else out there that's got daughter, son, and you're the coach, I would highly recommend it. But I will say it's very hard to do.
Coach, the similarities between you guys and Corydon Central are very wild in terms of shooting percentages, very similar in terms of points scored, very similar. You guys are in the state championship game for the first time ever. They also as well. You're a alma mater of Fairfield. Coach that you're facing is an alma mater of Corydon Central. The similarities between these two teams and what they're playing for and where they've come from are incredibly, incredibly similar.
Yeah, almost kind of scary looking. Almost feel like you're looking in the mirror a little bit at each other. And obviously both teams kind of playing, I feel like, right now playing their best ball. Their last couple weeks have been pretty good. I think they faced some teams very similar to us, maybe not, the quote-unquote number one team ranked in the state. And, it kind of, you look at it on paper, it kind of winds up, it looked like it should be a pretty good ball game.
When you look at the matchups, and for me, just looking as an outsider, it's like, okay, can this Fairfield defense that's been so good all season long have another really good game against a good offense? I mean, is that kind of similar to what you see, or what are some of the real keys that you've seen for success on Saturday night?
Yeah, I mean, we're not the flashiest team, especially on offense. I mean, we always seem to find a way to get the points on the board, averaging just a little over 50. But for us, it just comes down to night in, night out. We got to play some defense. We got to, try to take away some things that the other team likes to do. We kind of play an unorthodox, extended 2-3 zone with a little bit of a 1-3-1. And really, I honestly only do that because of our length that we have. And actually, our tallest girls, lengthiest girls actually play the top of our zone, not the bottom of the zone.
And, years ago, a lot of people kind of head scratched and look at me like, why are you doing that? And, we had a plan, we had a vision, we had a plan, and at times it didn't look real good. Maybe 2 or 3 years ago, we took some lumps, but I think here we're kind of now reaping the benefits of sticking with it, sticking to our guns, because I've had numerous people tell me like, oh, you guys don't play zone, you guys can't win. We've had some success with it. And I think, holding people to 28 points a game on average kind of proves it.
Coach, when you look at this roster, Brodie Garber, your daughter, leading the team in scoring, but it's very much a complimentary group with Morgan Gothrop also averaging double figures. Bailey Willard is very close to double figures. You look at at Kaylee Dillon, who's been huge, and Geiger, too, the other senior in the lineup. You look at points per game and you maybe marginalize her impact, but she's the leading rebounder for you guys, and she's come up big in some big moments. So it's a very well-balanced starting five, and you have a couple underclassmen in Whitaker and Herbert that have come off the bench as well in key moments for you.
Yeah, Geiger doesn't get a whole lot of credit. She's 5'4" and rebounds the heck out of the ball. Definitely one of our best screeners. I mean, she gets people open on typical nights. And then, the freshman Herbert has kind of come on pretty strong. The Whitaker girl is new to us. She came from Michigan. So her and Herbert, brand new to the system, but they've really bought in and really kind of helped us out with some major minutes. But, the Morgan Gothrop's probably the one that's probably almost doubled her output last year. And to have her scoring whatever it is, like around 11 instead of like 6 per game, that's just, added another dynamic to our team that we really needed.
Coach, when you look at approaching Saturday night and your girls are new to this and their girls are new to this, Corydon Central hasn't been to the state championship in 20 years, what's the message in order to handle the moment? Or is that to be determined based on how the girls come out?
Yeah, and I've had a lot of, coaches I've talked to is, a lot of times when both teams get there, they're obviously good. They've done some things right. They're playing well. It kind of comes down to, in a lot of these games, like who handles the moment best, who, can sustain some runs by other teams a little bit better. And I think, we talked to the girls a little bit about, that ball gets tossed up, probably the first couple possessions, probably going to be a little awkward, a little rough. But after a couple minutes, like it's basketball. We got to do, I know the venue's different, the lighting's going to be different, but, it kind of comes down to which team can kind of buckle down and just start playing their brand of basketball.
When you look at defending Corydon Central and Ava Weber in particular, who's averaging 22 points a game, do you risk maybe focusing too much on Ava Weber? How do you combat giving her the proper respect and defending her without really losing priority on people like Josie Vaughn, who's also a really good player, and Alyssa Groover, two players that can also make you pay?
Yeah, for sure. That stands out, her 20-some points a game. We're going to have to do some things to hold her down. Just very dynamic player. I kind of compare her to a little bit of the Bailey Hartzell from Lakeland a couple of years ago, just that strong, athletic, and jump a little bit. And then just, they got some nice pieces around them that I think some of the games they just kind of quietly do their thing. You kind of get done. Hey, Vaughn had 15, and or a couple other ones like, whoa, where'd that 10 points come from? So, they have some girls around Weber that are definitely no slouches, and if you're not careful, they're getting into those upper double digits, and, they do that. They're going to be a tough team to beat.
With this meaning so much to the Fairfield community in and around Goshen as well, how do you balance prepping for arguably the biggest game in their high school lives with enjoying the moment and enjoying the ride and enjoying this week?
And that's probably been, honestly, the toughest thing that we've tried to work through, allowing these girls to have that fun. Like today, we had 4 pep sessions today. We went to each elementary, 3 of them, had one at high school. I had just had a blast with those. The community has come around us really, really well. But, okay, we had practice from 3:30 to 5:15. Now we're business. We got to get at it. Tomorrow, a little bit of a practice. We're going to go to the shoot-around at Gamebridge, and that's kind of, business-like, but yet, hey, we're going to have a little bit of fun. I honestly, I'm just really hoping that our maturity, the kids that have been here a lot, 4 seniors that we know it's going to be their last game on Saturday, but they want to finish this up right. And I just believe so strongly in them and just how they are that they're going to find a way to do that.
Win or lose, no better way to end your prep career than playing at Gamebridge Fieldhouse for sure. Coach, I appreciate the time. I know you're a busy guy, so thanks for the 10 minutes or so. I know it's probably been a whirlwind. We'll continue to be through Saturday, but good luck heading down to Indy, and let's capture a state championship. All right, buddy?
Appreciate it. Thanks for your coverage.
That was Brodie Garber, head coach of the Fairfield Falcons. His team heading down to Fairfield's first ever appearance in the state championship game on the girls basketball side, and in any team sport looking to win their first state championship ever amongst the team sport. So good luck to the Fairfield Falcons heading down to Bankers Life, Gamebridge. I'm going to get it right.
Podcasts by Federated Media.